Let me begin with a big show note to Mom. I am not in hell. Everything is okay. I got a message yesterday. Is everything okay? I am reading the Inferno. I'm in Circle 8, Bulge 4. I haven't made any progress since yesterday, but it is awesome. Especially with the lecture series that I was recommending earlier. Artist Journal, January 23rd, 2024. Broadcasting from a beautiful, typically cloudy day here in Berlin, Germany. Gonna go meet a pen plotter person tonight. Thank you, Heck. Thank you, Heck, for setting that up. So welcome back, everybody. Again, my name is Adrian Pocobelli, if I haven't mentioned that. And yeah, so let's go. There is a lot to get through today. Thank you for all the comments. We're going to go through them. Look at this work. Did this work capture your imagination like it captured my imagination when I first saw it? Again, it hit the reptilian nerve. That reptilian aesthetic nerve, that je ne sais quoi, I know not what, of this work by Martin Bruce. Typically, I would say identifiable. Like if you asked me, who do you think made this, and you didn't tell me the artist, I think I could have guessed it, maybe even on the first shot, not necessarily, but I think so. And why? Right? Like, what are the characteristics of this work that makes it similar to the others? I would say this kind of interesting, almost video-inspired texture screen, for instance, and the way I sort of, would elucidate on that is see these kind of horizontal stripes. But maybe more importantly, the whimsical irrationality of what we see here. At least a rationality that I don't understand, so I call it irrational. There's something, but there is something kind of, like there is, again, I'm kind of back to there is a weird logic to this. I don't know how to express it. But what I do know is this is the kind of work I kind of feel, you know what it reminds me of? We were talking about the Neue Nationalgalerie yesterday and seeing Element Lee's work, the cardboard on the wall, and how that wouldn't be a shock. It wouldn't be a shock to the system, not for me, or I think for your typical Hamburger Bahnhof, the Contemporary Art Museum here in Berlin visitor. I could imagine this. Like this work for me is a billboard work for an entire show. It's like digital art in 2024, and then there is the work. Like it has this weird power, this work here. And there's just something about it, I know not what. This bear, seemingly with a digitally stretched out neck. Now, to dig a little further here, what also makes it a kind of Martin Bruce-esque, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. In the Instagram, it says like Martin Bruce, but maybe it could be Martin Brook or Martin Bruce. All to say, another thing finally that makes it a Martin Bruce is there seems to be perhaps, and not exactly sure, but you see this marks, there is a sense of physicality to this work. Like there is an ambiguity. Is it a physical or a digital work even? One could ask. When I look here, maybe I can go even closer here. When I look here, it feels really digital in the neck. But when I go here, it almost looks like even a touch out of focus, one might say, of a physical, especially when you see the almost like the rubbing that over here. Almost like a brush kind of was misplaced or something, or left on the canvas or something. I suspect it's a digital. I suspect it's a pure digital. And look at this great flowers here. But the uniqueness here, again, I use that word whimsicality of this work, I find inspiring. And again, this is right at home here. On a billboard for contemporary art in 2024. Is it not? I mean, feel free to leave a comment if you think I'm, going too far on this. But it is brilliant work. It captures your imagination. You might say it's beyond words. Why? again, like, why is this so interesting? And it's visual, right? So, uh, interesting, interesting work from our good friend out there, Martin Bruce, online friend. Maybe I'll meet Martin in person one day. That would be great. JPEG 2024, a reserve of 0.12 ETH, minted 14 hours ago. This super interesting work here. So, total unique work. And again, when you take a step back and you look here, there is a sense of physicality. Is it a combination of the two? Not sure. And I have to say, the landscape itself, even if you had a regular bear in here, would be kind of like, it would be a nice work. It would be pleasing. You do this outrageous, neck here or stretch, digital stretch, and it turns from, a landscape with a bear that's treated in a very sophisticated way to something that is playing with data. It's almost like data. Again, it's just kind of in your face, outrageous. I would argue, unless there is an explanation here, irrationality. Just kind of in your face irrationality, just boom. It's all perfect except for what is going on here. So again, fantastic work by Martin Bruce. Now, here, this is part of a record cover that Martin Bruce did. So I found some work. I don't know if that's Martin Bruce, but this definitely has the trademarks of Martin Bruce here. Or Martin Bruch, however it is pronounced. Maybe it's both. And this is also what I wanted to show, how brilliant this artist is. So first there is this, which is what looks like a really cool kind of, again, I almost used the word outrageous there. Is that a cassette cover? A limited edition of cassettes are available to pre-order. So no, but this is the album cover. So very cool, but let this be an opportunity here to show Martin Bruce's dexterity. There's Element Lee, Parsa Mostagim. So it's great to see this scene here on Instagram as well. And look at that Mickey Mouse here. Instagram is kind of difficult to zoom in on, unfortunately, as you can see here. But let's go with this. But I mean, when I see big works like this and maybe it's printed out, again, I'd love to go closer. Maybe we can. And you start seeing these large scale, what look like canvases here, although it's unclear. I mean, what is going on the floor here? And you see the shadow on the floor here. Maybe it's paper printed out, not sure. But when I start seeing, what I would call ambitious works like this, it leaves a mark, like it leaves an impression that this person is not a just kind of here and there, that this person is serious. This person is driven. This person is going for it, as you see in all of this wonderful work here. Here's, again, a gallery show. Okay, and look at this outrageous canvas here. What is going on? Right? Un gato, is that a cat? Un pato, duas cobras e un mariposa. So I believe Spanish here. Let's see the translation here. A cat, a duck, two snakes, and a butterfly. And on display at Atelier Logic of Obista. Shall we take a quick look here? If my internet works, and unclear where they are based. It's always nice if the gallery can put where they're based. Let's just look a little bit more here, because you see a ton of physical work. Look at this. So, and this is 36 weeks ago, but just really, just such an original, interesting artist. So just thrilled to start the newspaper, The Imagination here, with this brilliant, one-of-a-kind, I remember seeing these, artist, just a super interesting artist. Challenging enough, and you see how the bear just jumps off the page, and I don't know why. I don't know why, other than I put it together as a regular image, and then it's like, oh, but not, right? And so I think that's what it is. I think it's like, I understand it, but wait, I don't. And it's so simple. That is my theory on it right here, as to why it seems to work. It upsets our rationality, right? Because again, I'm coming back to this, we rationalize reality this is supposed to be a bear, and then boom, wait a second, what is this? This doesn't make sense. And that's why I say it's almost data-esque. It's just kind of like throwing irrationality into the mix in a very profoundly simple way. So just super cool. And of course, we know Martin Bruce from Object as well. I only discovered Martin's work, maybe October, maybe around these works here. I've shown a lot of them. There's this great one of one that came out maybe around here. Is where we first started showing, because I remember that one. Again, often using video in the works here too as a layer, but not always. Also keeping it interesting. This is a JPEG, right? So also kind of, not being too predictable. And as I like to say, the hallmark of good art is unpredictability. Keeping things unpredictable. I like to try and keep things unpredictable here, where it's like you're not sure what you're going to get. You're going to get within certain confines, but you just don't know what you're going to get. And my example of this always is, it's not a good sign when you're listening to a song that you've never heard before and you basically have a good idea what the next lyric is going to be, right? And so, again, so it's predictable in that sense, that song, so that's not good, right? So again, good art is kind of unpredictable. So beautiful work there from Martin Bruce, and big shout out across the internet airwaves here. And I'm excited to announce and present the wonderful pixel artist Anis Abdin is going to be on the show with guest co-host Dina Chang. It should be an awesome, let me set my reminder here, an awesome show tomorrow. That is 9:30 New York, 3:30 here in Berlin. Should be awesome. Just an awesome artist. Let me show you Anis Abdin's work here. This really interesting. I've shown many of these works on this show over the many months here. And as you can see, just a really cool pixel artist here. As you can see, puts work on foundation and everything. So we're going to go deeper with Anis Abdin and all these just beautiful scenes. Remember the one with the traffic lights here and everything. So a true master of the genre here. And remember that. I wish, this one, these are beautiful. So very exciting here. This magical pool. Okay, boiling things down there. So that is tomorrow. Continuing on, thank you for the comments yesterday. Little Cakes, love the element piece you are starting the show with. This work right here, Element Lee laser engraving on cardboard. And the descent into Rauschenberg pieces. And as I said to Cakes here, glad we're on the same page. I was happy to make that link too. Lucas Lejeune, nice episode. Thank you for featuring my work. My pleasure. Element Lee, thank you so much for this amazing review. You are welcome. B, excellent as always, Adrian. Before the list keeps growing in my head, Edward Muybridge. I was trying to remember the person that there's E.J. Marie and there's Edward Muybridge, who did the photographic studies in the late 1890s of movement and this interest in movement early in photography. Also with the futurists, there's this interest in movement. We take it for granted now, this kind of moving mediums. Very interesting. Thank you, B. And Francisco de Goya, of course, Saturn devouring one of his sons, as we saw from, I think it was Gora yesterday in that illustration. Thank you. Vampy, thank you for the comment. And Mika Oladef, great to hear from you. So just awesome work being put out by Mika Oladef on a regular basis here. I think I have another one today. We do. And also on YouTube here, Santiago Izzacotl. Eleonora Brizzi used to work with Ai Weiwei. That could be his direct connection to the space. And so this is interesting. And I hadn't heard, I don't know too much about Eleonora Brizzi. I do follow her, but I brought up her page here. So more, again, circumstantial evidence, digital art curator, founder of Breezy Art here. So here is the page of the person that Santiago Izzacotl was mentioning. And I also got a message from Lily Illo saying also that, I don't know, I think she was saying that Ai Weiwei, I think she said that, if I remember right, that Ai Weiwei follows her. And also there's another person and she was kind of voting in agreement that indeed Ai Weiwei is paying attention to the scene, as I think Ai Weiwei should. I would argue. I mean, what else are you going to be paying attention to? Not to like take this conversation too far or be too, go too far with it, but it's a pretty exciting scene. So I guess that's how I would put that. It's a very exciting scene. So we shouldn't be shocked by this. So more confirmation from a couple of sources there. So very interesting. I wanted to touch on this just because it's something that we deal with, and on a conceptual level, I thought it was significant. This was a story from Davos, and I just want to go with the headline here. Blockchain, the tech behind Bitcoin, may have found its killer use case by keeping AI in check. And here, blockchain could be used to keep a check on data artificial intelligence models are being trained on to avoid issues like bias. So in other words, using the block, because of course there's this issue with AI and ChatGPT and this idea of it hallucinating, text when it doesn't have the answer, or it kind of makes stuff up. And the use case, and so this idea that blockchain could, as a record on the blockchain of things that perhaps actually occurred, which I think will have its own debates, but could be used as a way of keeping the AI in check. I just thought that was conceptually very interesting, since again, we deal both with blockchain and AI here. And just another angle on AI, again, Alain Survey, this account that is, it doesn't get a ton of press here, this account, but it is a great account. Again, I think kind of a collection survey, I think kind of a high up collector, but doesn't have a huge audience. So anyways, I recommend the follow. And just great content here. Is AI the death of IP? So is artificial intelligence the death of intellectual property? Generative AI is the latest in a long line of innovations to put pressure on our already dysfunctional copyright system. And this is an interesting take as well on the whole, because remember we saw the headline with the New York Times suing ChatGPT and Microsoft for basically copyright infringement. You're taking our articles and you're basically putting them in your little speech maker, and then you push them back out and you're using our content. Artists have also made the same case. Now, what I like about this, and this is an article from the New Yorker, what I like about this is saying, well, maybe AI is not the problem. Maybe intellectual property is actually what needs to die. That's what I liked about this. And so I found that just like a nice kind of a refreshing other angle on it. It's like, maybe the problem's not AI, but IP. Interesting question. Continuing on. Finally, just on a market level, first issue of Amazing Spider-Man swings to 1.38 million. Of course, this is Superman #1 here at Heritage Auctions. So again, this is Art Daily here. And they're showing, this is Superman #1, I think from 1939. I thought it was 1940. So you see the gorgeousness. This is a 7.0 on the grading system here, which I think would be like a fine. I used to be very deep into the comics here, but I think it just on a general market perspective, it is interesting here what is retaining value over time and just what is happening. Like this was a bit of a blockbuster auction. And that is not what we're hearing in the art space right now. So I thought this is, and there's a lot of original art. So let me just quickly go here. So Heritage Auctions, $20 million comic and comic art event on January 11th to 14th contained more records than a jukebox. As expected, the auction proved a history maker. Chief among them were the 2 copies of Amazing Spider-Man #1 graded near mint 9.8, which realized a record-setting $1.38 million. One of only 2 copies, supposedly, that have been graded by probably the CGC here. The book, which hit newsstands in March 1963, okay, so we know this. Now, Spider-Man wasn't alone. Superman #1 graded 7.0, fine, very fine. 2.34 million, soared to $2.34 million for Superman #1. Close to a record high for the first issue of the solo book. Of course, Action Comics came before that. And the first appearance of Wonder Woman here went to $1.5 million. Now, what's interesting about this as well, these comics back in the 40s had print runs of like 250,000 oftentimes. Like they didn't really, not to go too far on the comic book front, but it wasn't until like Jim Shooter at Marvel in the early 80s and X-Men, that comics started to get the print runs that they were getting in the 1940s, from my understanding, where they started with X-Men to get, 250,000 copies again. So this is incredible. And of course, condition matters, but of course we deal with editions here, which is why I'm saying sometimes these editions of 10, 15, sometimes even feel like a lot, but, when it's all lost, wallets get lost, how many are going to be left in 50 years? So it's very interesting. Should the technology survive? I'd say there's a pretty good bullish case on the art on the blockchain here. Should it remain a legitimate way of buying and selling? And I don't see why it hasn't. There's millions of dollars that have been spent. Finally here, there's the original art that I wanted to highlight. First Hulk going for $340,000, only a 9.2. So here we have the original art likewise made history. George Perez, Avengers number 161. I mean, this is a 1970s book, which is probably a nice one. $288,000. Justice League of America number 195. Again, I think these are like 1970s books. $250,000 there. $288,000. John Romita Sr.'s Amazing Spider-Man number 87. These are some of the greatest comics of all time. I call it one of the great novels of the 20th century. Not to go too far on this, we're almost done. Amazing Spider-Man 1 to 100, Stan Lee's real great novel there. He stopped writing at issue 100, I believe, which concluded a long-running story. So the cover of number 87 by the genius John Romita Sr. went for $210,000. And so Frank Miller, again, this is like 1980s, going for $156,000. Frank Frazetta, which many of you know, going for $186,000. That's for a painting. And even in the 80s here, Brian Boland, $102,000 for Animal Man number 1. So, it's funny, that's 1988, 1990, let's say, for the sake of argument. How many years is that? Like, that's my lifetime here. That is 30 years. So it's amazing what 30 years will do, right? Because these things you could probably buy for like $1,000 in maybe less. So comic art. Now, we've been looking at this brilliant work that we saw yesterday by Element Lee on the cardboard here, physical work. And I looked closer here and I said, what is going on here? And so Uxine, this looks pretty darn physical to me. And what this looks like to me, if I am not mistaken, is screen printing screen printing the dithering. A 2-color screen print, if I'm right, and I could be wrong about that. I mean, maybe it's also it's with the water on it, it's kind of hard to tell, actually, because I would think this is a screen print. You know what this looks like to me? This looks like the preparation method when you're screen printing and you need to get the mask, which you put on the screen. This is like early in the method, where you moisten down the paper so that the light goes through it, and then you get your screen where you can actually put color on it. That's probably why it's black and white. So all to say, seemingly screen printing, if I had to guess here, and you gotta love the off-registering, almost a hat tip to Warhol, with the dithering, works quite beautifully, doesn't it? So brilliant and beautiful from Uxine. Pixel Lord. So, final drop of Node Mojis. This is the name of the collection on Magic Eden, the Bitcoin collection from Pixel Lord. The collection is now 100 items. Enjoy collecting. So, here is, again, that collection. And so, what's really interesting about this, and I was wondering this to myself, it looks like you can start a collection and then just keep adding to the collection. So, this is really interesting because I kind of want to put out a collection as well on Bitcoin, this kind of style of thing. But I have my own idea of it, of course. And so that is really cool and interesting. Big congrats to Pixel Lord. It looks like it's doing really well. 45 holders. Really impressive. Here is the Vending NFT vending machine. Surprise, we have just loaded the machine with a stealth artist takeover. So my suspicion yesterday was correct, featuring the fantastical world of Yuri J. 200 vault pieces loaded, including never released past mints. Over 21 of ones. The machine is on now. Wow. That is pretty awesome. So Tezos vending machine, and big shout out to Flexosaurus there too, and Yuri J. Love it. Turns it into a piano. The creativity here, and even all of this patterning. What a great artist, right? What just a great artist, as RJ will agree with, who made that wonderful show on Object. This was an interesting piece here by RJ, How to Explain the Internet to a Dead Hare After Joseph Beuys. Now, I should have brought up that work here. Let's do it very quickly here. Dead Hare. This is one of my favorite, yeah. These images were very powerful in, I think it was this, maybe this image right here on the left, which isn't loading up for some reason. Maybe that image there, there we go. This was in my art history textbook. This was a really powerful image. So this is the performance that was documented here. To me, the image, again, Beuys is a tricky one. We've discussed Beuys before. It is about the living, breathing performance. I highly recommend the movie. And then once you see that, you understand, as I was mentioning in an earlier episode, when you walk through the MoMA, you see all the Beuys works and it feels kind of like boring. The reason is because it's kind of like, it's the fossils of the show. But these, I have to say, these documents here, because of his, you know, the white powder on his face, the hair and everything, the black and white, and the expression and everything, the setting, they're quite powerful as works on their own. These are what I'd argue, as far as fossils, these are my favorite fossils, so to speak, from Beuys. So this is the work that RJ is referencing. So taking a quite a different tact here, doing it according to screenshots here, as we see maybe the Tate, here's Yves Klein here, Yves Klein's blue, NFTs explained. So a whole bunch of screens kind of mixed in here. You know, beauty on Wikipedia here, blockchain facts, what is it? Derrida of grammatology, with, I'll never forget trying to read that intro by Guattari Spivak there. Yeah, so if you want to lose some time, try reading that introduction. Minesweeper, you know, she came to Berlin to give a talk. I don't remember if I went or not, which probably means I didn't go. But I don't remember, which is kind of funny. Minesweeper, that was like 5 years ago, pre-COVID, and ChatGPT. So just an interesting, another conceptual work from RJ. You know, continuing the dialogue here with the tradition, which again makes me very bullish. Mikey de la Creme, on-chain action got you feeling down. Why not go off-chain? I still have 4 editions left of my Genesis physical print from Kelowna Contemporary, link below. So again, we've seen these before, and so there are an edition of 10, and 6 have sold. So again, Kelowna Contemporary doing very well selling. Here is an early AI art print. Probably, you know, 10 years from now, we'll see this is a very early AI art print, a beautiful work here of one of the blues guitar players by Mikey Wilson here, a wonderful collector in the scene. So just follow the link there on Mikey's feed. And actually, I think there is another, let me just bring this up. And there's the work, this beautiful AI painting here by Mikey Wilson. And you got to love Mikey Wilson's signature there. Let's look at the signature. Look at Mikey Wilson's great signature there. Anyway, let's continue here. Lewis Harriet, more physicals. You know, more interesting physicals, always interested to see what people are working on. So this is looking pretty good. I assume inkjet. This doesn't look like a screen print. This looks like inkjet. If I had to guess, this would work brilliantly as Rezo. Rezo, usually the largest I think you can go is A3 unless you get a really specialized printer. Sometimes you can do A2, but I've never actually seen that. Very interesting work here. Here's more physical, Brain Dead. This one of one goes with a hand-signed physical blueprint, worldwide free shipping with Michael Caine voice. So here is the NFT, and I think quite brilliantly puts it in here. A nice physical with all of the trappings of physical art, all of the random little errors, so to speak, of physical art on this graph paper. Looks like almost handmade graph paper, but not positive on that. And just really cool. So as you see here, the digital and then inverting the physical here. So using graph paper for the digital. And here Spiegel's collecting a really cool work by Right Click Dead, the same artist, I believe. Let's just double check on that. No, this is Brain Dead. Oh yeah, which is Right Click Dead. Okay, excellent. So Brain Dead here, and I love it, where it looks like Pong, but, having trouble keeping up with the Pong game. Brilliant piece here, picked up by a one of one. Nice pickup from Spiegels. And here, controlled dithering study by Andreas Geisen. I thought this was quite original in its treatment. Just kind of there's something to be said for simplicity, isn't there? As we see, in this kind of dithering just moving across this very simple 3x3 grid. Beautiful work here, Andreas Geisen, posted by R. Mech.txt, our atrophy starts with an innocent comfort. So here again, we see Michael Micasso, Mech.txt, writing with his special Mechding font here, and blind type performance on Figma. Interestingly, using Figma. Self-made font, Monomech 1.2. Of course, Adobe tried to take over Figma, but I think the regulators in the UK just kind of canceled that, as far as I understand. It was like they're paying seemingly way too much. I think Adobe breathed a sigh of relief. $18 billion, I think it was, for Figma. Seemed like way overpaying, but all to say, using Figma, which is getting more popular, self-made font, and here you see the poem being written here. And what I really love about this is how there's a representational scene underneath. Here's the, line, then it gets turned into image here, posting the same, and then you have this abstract on top, juxtaposed with this representational part at the bottom. Again, just very, very interesting work from Mech. As we dive into the works here, Vaporwave Not Dead, love that title. This is Burst Sector, with a new work on Zora, and cool kind of classical, trying to figure out who this is. Is this Alexander, maybe? Not exactly sure who the Greek bust is. I believe Greek. But a very cool, kind of classic work by Burst Sector here, Pixel or Die. Great colors, just very fun. You gotta love the signature at the bottom right here. Beautiful works, and has been doing it for probably since 2021 on posting them on Tezos, this series. There are some great ones. Saturn Devouring His Sun. Actually, I own that one. Maybe we'll bring that up in a future, maybe next episode. I'll try and remember to bring that up. That is a really cool work. Here's Pamelo with a new work on Zora. So Zora, you gotta love, the artists are still loving Zora. And as we see, there's a lot being minted still. So here is Pamelo Burtoon, and so just very cool animation here. Kind of seemingly like a kind of eyes and a nose. Just having fun here, but looking really good. Kind of a paper texture, kind of pixelated, but you almost forget to a certain degree because of the texture. Four of Pentacles. So another, I believe this is new, 7 hours ago, a new work here from the Cat Tarot by Manidal. And it seems like the colors here are just getting more and more gorgeous. They've been gorgeous since the beginning, though, I have to say. But you gotta love this with this almost like, what is that, like a 17th century collar of sorts, or frock, I don't know what you'd call that. And then the three cats here. So this is and there's the fourth. And even this really interesting design here. Interesting kind of almost fuzzed out dithering on purpose. And this wonderful border here by the great Manidal. Just another beautiful work here. Not listed yet in this brilliant work. Sabato with a very interesting work. This looks like not quite 800 by 600, but it looks like the same ratio. After J. Lynn Gomez and David Hockney, yeah, it definitely has, whenever you do a pool, kind of screams Hockney here. As you see, it looks like it almost fits the screen perfectly here. And here you see just a beautiful treatment of basically a guy cleaning the pool with one of those nets, and all the kind of whimsical, just kind of, unpredictable, interesting aspects of his Sabato work. Gotta love how these are treated here. These lawn chairs or sun tanning chairs or whatever you'd call them, pool chairs. That is great. Just a nice, simple pixelation. Even the tiling and even the water with a beautiful animation. This little interesting way of portraying this inflatable here, where it's just like interesting angle. Might not be your typical angle you might think of. And maybe that's for going in the water here. You can almost see the step. Just beautiful work here from Sabato. So I don't think this is listed yet. One offer comes in for 10 Tezos, edition of 25. So not a huge edition for Sabato. Rip Cash, I'm not sure if we've seen this one before. I think there are a lot in this style here, so I think this is a different one. And again, we haven't looked at a ton of Rip Cash's work, like just a few. And so just another interesting pixel artist here with some surveillance cameras coming out of windows and what looks like an audio tape, so retro tech here, and then some smashed screens over here and this kind of black and white patterning underneath. So cool title here too, System from Ripcache, 10,000 views and posted about a day ago, so it's pretty good. Santiago, not art. So this has been, I think, released a couple of days ago. So some interesting abstracts here from Santiago, as we're going to see. So this is the first playing with even like, wow, you know, that tool, this magnifying tool by object is pretty awesome. Because I don't have to reload the image in a new browser. Look at how great that looks. So very interesting work here. We got another one. This one is massive. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't crash my computer here. You got to be careful here with Santiago's work. I'm not going to push this too far because my computer is already starting to choke a little bit here on the files. I need to do basically a big reformatting of my computer. I can tell from the sometimes jaggedness of the videos here. So just another interesting abstract. Let's look at the other one here. And this was minted today with an interesting, this is kind of more, I'd be tempted to say more classic. Again, you kind of see the SVG, or the vector, I should say, style here. And very cool composition when you take a step back. So interesting work from Sabato. This is, I think, a 1 of 1 for 300 Tezos. How much are the others here? 6 Tezos, edition of 15, and edition of 11, and this is sold out at 4 Tezos. And the rest were burned. Okay, and so this is Yuri J, TR number 47, vending machine special. So a clue here as to what might be in the vending machine. So here, and United States Postal Service at the bottom there. I don't know if you can see that. And here, registered. So maybe playing with the post office logo here. So interesting work here. A nice combination of mark making. Here you have some letters. Here you have some scribbles, some patterning in the background. Pretty nice. And of course, you see it's the same structure here, but colored differently. And yeah, this is part of the transition series. This is number 48. So transitioning to slightly different colors here. So interesting work here. And here, another one, same structure, different fill, basically. So super interesting here as we cruise through this episode. Walk, 1 Tezos. So again, playing at 9:59 here with what I think is a September 11th series here. And this looks like, it's funny how some emote more than others. This one kind of looks like rubble, so it emotes a little bit more. It's a very interesting series, edition of 1. Sometimes you luck out and can get them for pretty reasonable price. Here is Gozo, Morning. So again, more experimentation here with collage and probably stable diffusion AI, kind of somewhat representational, but somewhat abstract, and just, again, beautiful textures here coming out from Gozo. So just posted on X there. Here's another work by Jake Studios. This is a 1 of 1 for 333, Mass Manipulation. And here we see 3 figures kind of chained together here, a dripping cloud in the background. And here you see a happy face to a sad face across these computer monitors and some JPEGs that maybe are broken, interestingly. And these guys are all chained to the computer. So perhaps a commentary of sorts on the scene here. And you see all the glory of the details here with another work here by Jake Studios. And there you see almost like some Keith Haring tattoos sneaking in there. Pretty awesome. Continuing on, Rat Cloak with another work, a beautiful painting here, Lyrica 75 milligrams. And so maybe, I saw a post where Rat Cloak was in the hospital. And so maybe that is the medicine and maybe making this on the medicine, perhaps. Kind of looks like a pretty cool work, first of all. Love the flower jacket. I wonder if this is a portrait of maybe Ratcloak as a younger person or maybe contemporary. There's almost a little bit of a distortion here in the head like we've been seeing in the others, and this beautiful painterliness. This has turned out quite well, hasn't it? So being very prolific here, and it's paying off in interesting birds in the background and beautifully painted, very painterly again in the background here. Interesting kind of horizon line there too, and very nice in the collar here. So beautiful work there. That is 69 Tezos from Rorich bidding, and so that is where it is right now with a few hours to go in the auction. Another super interesting work from Myth, Michael Jordan with this outrageous turquoise in the background. You gotta love it. And this combination of the boxing gloves with Michael Jordan, of course, the basketball and baseball, sometimes baseball player, but mostly basketball. He thought he could do it all, and you gotta admire that, actually. There's a baseball card out there of Michael Jordan when he was trying to get into baseball. I don't know exactly the stories, but yeah, anyway, just another gorgeous work here by Myth. So that looks like a younger Michael Jordan here, and this is 23 Tezos on secondary, selling out for 10 Tezos on primary. So continuing to do very well with that boxing series here. Cerise Kojima, Flame of Desire, I thought this was great. This is a edition of 12 for 10 Tezos, and a very interesting nude here with a skeleton, kind of a classic theme here. Kind of has a nice kind of textured background here. Look at all this detail here in this beautiful, I think, digital illustration here. Kind of playing with different kind of print, what would you call that? The raster dots, and also just illustration here. Huge eyelashes there. Great piece from Cerise Kojima. Flame of Desire. So how many are left here? They're selling. There might not be many left. There are 4 left at 10 Tezos. This is interesting here too. Agugan. I'm not sure if I've looked at Agugan's work before. Gardener of Mind. Mind is the garden and thoughts are the seeds, and I must learn how to get the best harvest. So let's take a closer look here. And as you see, kind of a surreal animation, isn't it? As we see here, it would probably hang quite well with Jake Studio's work there. With this kind of, again, surreal illustration. It's an interesting genre, isn't it? And again, you see kind of a textured background with a lot of these illustrators here. I guess to probably add just kind of interest. I call it a complexifier, if I remember right. When you're trying to give added detail and just interest to a work, sometimes just a textured paper or textured background, like the cardboard with Element Lee, to a certain degree. Anyway, let's look here. There are 13 left for 3 Tezos here. Gardener of Mind, cool work. And this is Mo SHIT. I don't think we've looked at this one. And here we see what looks like a kind of a 3D game, like polygons from a game, almost like video game imagery. This kind of looks like Stable Diffusion-esque textures here with some pixelation here. And maybe, again, part of a video game. Wild work here, wild title, on Zora. Top minter, Curio Fringe. So Curio Fringe gives the blessing on this one. Maybe buying one, the first to mint there. Cool work there from Mo. Fishing Hole. This is Mick Renders and Kyle Flemmer here. So cool combination of works. I think I saw the dolphin posted on, or the fish posted on Twitter. And here you see what looks like a video game trope or, quote. And then here's some big, maybe an eye, pixelation of an eye or a circle or some sort of animated abstract. Interesting, ambiguous piece here, Fishing Hole, from Mick Renders and Kyle Flemmer. Glitch Fishin'. So this is listed, not listed yet. Continuing on, Amelia Versace and Tesnoun. So Amelia Versace does a Tesnoun here. So a cool animated abstract work here. So animating the color, keeping the structure the same, but animating the color, which makes it pretty interesting. You get several variations on an abstract when you do that. Interesting move. And there, I mean, look at how, again, don't forget the Tez nouns. I think they have the square glasses, right? So fairly abstracted out. I think a really successful, Tez noun here. Really adding to that really cool collection there. So very cool there from Amelia Versace and Tez nouns. Santiago Ruao, don't even need to look. You can just recognize it immediately. So this is on Zora, the gap with a slash in between here. So interesting abstract work here, again, playing with circles and gradients here, kind of having a three-dimensional feel to it for sure on this one. And I think we looked at this on Twitter from Lucas Lejeune. This is 5 Tezos on Object. So it has been minted, I think, yesterday, Atom Crowd. So that is the title there. And there it is up large here. So a very cool animated abstract. I love the little details like in that bottom corner there. This stuff in the corners really adds a lot to the work. Just adds a whole layer of complexity. Atom Crowd. Very cool. This is 5 Tezos edition of 20. Here's another one posted on X, which I thought was pretty spectacular too. So I assume this is programming. I assume, but maybe a combination of animation and programming. Very interesting. Almost looks like a starship there. Here's Acid Boy. Have a creative week ahead. So kind of a different feel on this one from Acid Boy. Very hallucinatory, as usual. And as you see here, pretty cool loop here from Acid Boy, who I'm curious to see, must have more big plans, I assume, for Gamma and Bitcoin, who has been doing very well on Bitcoin. Here's an interesting one from Strange P. Strange PEO. Let's see if it plays. Can't play the whole thing. Apologies to the artist. I have to kind of run through it, even for copyright reasons. I get up to 30 seconds here. But pretty cool work. Love the mood. 3D sculpture, 3D render, and music from Strange P. So check it out on Object called Lucid Dream. Very cool there. And here is another one. Pink Middle Orb. I'll have to try and dig that up for the curation here. I'm trying to do the curations. Sometimes I simply run out of time. Check this out. Who posted this? Someone, was it Curio Fringe? Someone I think it was Curio Fringe, if I'm not mistaken. This was pretty cool. Pretty cool piece here. Animated abstract. And this is by, I think Rainbow is the artist. Only 1 Tezos. Edition of 66, and I think brand new, 23rd of January. So a few minting already, just really interesting abstract there. And here's MCHX Vibe Moment, which would hang really well. A generative artwork here. So we got 3 from MCHX here. So here's 1, here's Vibe Moment number 17. Another still interesting ratio here, kind of looks like 16 by 9. This looks like more older TV, Vibe Moment number 18. So interesting works here from MCHX, more, generative digital art abstracts. Nicholas Sassoon, new RGB study. So we've been watching these RGB studies. So slightly different shape here. This is number 26. So it'll be interesting to see where these all go. Nice way to preview the work, isn't it? Now this is Teho Miking. I thought this was quite interesting, this Nintendo glitch ROM. It's called Radioactivity. And then within this work, you see Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Chernobyl, Madame Curie, radioactivity. Maybe listening to a lot of Kraftwerk right now. And here, now, if you know your Kraftwerk, there is a brilliant live album, Minimum Maximum. And they do an epic version of Radioactivity. I highly recommend that for the Kraftwerk people out there. Minimum Maximum. It's kind of when they got back together, but they were still all alive when they first got back together, like maybe 2015, I'm guessing, or 10, maybe 2010. It was awesome. It is awesome. Anyways, nice kind of homage, seemingly, to that work. to Kraftwerk seemingly and that song through a Nintendo glitch ROM. So how cool is that? Here's Mika Oladev, as promised, with these massively, I want to say, recycled pixels here. It seems to me, I was discussing, how you can take a work and then you put it through the effects again and again. When I see pixels like this that are textured and like all of that's what that looks like to me. All to say, another super interesting result from glitch artist Mika Oladev in this beautiful, portrayal here of I guess a bust of sorts. Very cool. A couple more from Klaus, who continues to keep it interesting. This sold too, 24 Tezos. Klaus on the move here with these beautiful colors here. Let's see what happens when we zoom in. Okay, nothing. Very cool. Just beautiful. As usual, composition 89, and here's 88, also selling AV collection. Amelia Versace picking up for 24. So one of ones, the power of one of ones. Just very cool kind of analog glitch art, analog video glitch art. As we move into the AI here, it's going to be a nice short show today. Olivera Durdovic. So interesting piece. I mean, if you saw this as a figurative kind of narrative painting in a gallery, I'd go, oh, that's a pretty interesting painting, especially how you have the dress like this and then the legs way over here. And just an interesting piece here and kind of powerful, feeling profound here, beautifully painted, but not either instantly identifiable as another style either. At least for me, nice AI piece, nice AI painting. And here's Ile with some interesting abstracts here. So Tempest, Hugh E. Cree AI. So maybe that's a software I don't know. This is 2 Tezos and edition of 7. So this just shows how good the textures are that you can get on AI. Like, look at how this is AI. Okay, I mean, it's pretty amazing. The brushwork, right? Amazing. Here's another one, Tempest number 5. And there are 8 of these. So I'm just picking a couple here that jumped out at me. Beautiful. All this mark making in here, all the mistakes, so to speak, all the randomness of physical reality. That's what, AI is helping. That's what it's conquering, I'd argue, in recent updates. Like, maybe it's just from the mixing and the blending that the algorithms are getting to know more by people uploading real paintings and then blending them together, because it's getting very persuasive, isn't it? Continuing on, Skamra with a weird tree here. Very interesting tree here with some almost like just lines, pipes maybe in the tree where the leaves are disappear here. Interesting piece from Skamra. Interesting kind of, margin here too. Again, keeping these interesting kind of framing devices on the left and right, top and bottom. A couple of new works on Object from Skamra. And here is No Hygiene with another interesting piece here, almost like in a cage here. And just another interesting piece that I know not what to say of. Just beautiful and interesting and unusual. This is going for 13 Tezos and selling to Yuri J. So continuing to sell this kind of offbeat AI art. Very impressive. Here's Little Cakes with a couple of more here, the Imperfects. So this is brand new, Long Live Weird, and just really interesting. Let's zoom in here if we can. Look at how huge this is. So here you start to see the AI up close. So very interesting. From the back, it really blends beautifully here. Let's look at the brush strokes. Yeah, so you see the AI, and then when you go back, interesting piece, interesting composition here, almost looking like a tattoo, but not entirely, on this figure here and this kind of, expressionistic face. Interesting piece here from Little Cakes. This is 2 Tezos, edition of 12, and almost done here. Another very interesting composition, beautiful color, Little Cakes. The Imperfects, 1, Long Live Weird. This is also 2 Tezos, edition of 12. And here, again, we see these interesting kind of distorted faces a little bit. Again, kind of expressionistic. Beautiful color in this one, the red going with the pink and the white. And just kind of interesting and mysterious here in this beautiful AI artwork. And that is your show. Under an hour here fabulously. Thank you for joining me, and I hope I see you tomorrow on The Space with Anis Abdin and Dina Chang. That should be fabulous. Thanks again. Until next time, take care.